Welcome everybody to Booze Hour Cloud Edition today. Today we have on Peter Scheffler and what we're calling what's new in the security zoo. So looking forward to that conversation. We will bring on Peter in just a second here, but a couple things that I wanted to go over. If you are watching via LinkedIn right now, great. But if you head over to YouTube, which is youtube.com/Daryl and Boo, you can actually hit subscribe on there. There will be a button down here once you do that. And I think in the YouTube description, if you click on the see more, you should see all the various links on there. So you can head over to YouTube, hit subscribe, and then you'll be able to see the content and turn on the bell for notifications. And then you'll see alerts pop up as I go live. So you don't have to be on LinkedIn at the point in time to be able to watch this live or to remember to watch this live. A couple other things within the links that are presented there in the YouTube stream. One of the links is actually to do the newsletter sign up and get free stickers. So these are the new stickers. So, second edition Booze Hour live stream stickers. If you head over to the link on there, you can throw in any address that I can send it to. And I will get over some stickers to you. Those are just for people in North America only. What else? If you have found me somehow on LinkedIn and you're not actually connected to me, you can follow me on LinkedIn as well, in addition to subscribing to the YouTube. That newsletter as well. So I just sent out yesterday's newsletter. I send that out every Monday. Unless it's a holiday like this week. So I sent it out yesterday. And that newsletter is just weekly F5 content. So just helpful links on things that are happening with F5. I'm finding more so with NGINX coming on board, with Shape Security on board. We have cloud services. We have all these updates as far as automation goes. There's just so much stuff that's happening on a week-to-week basis. So just having that weekly technical newsletter gets everybody up to date on that kind of stuff. You don't have to go searching for that information. In the last couple chats I've had with folks, they haven't seen some of the content that we actually have around automation, some stuff that is around the telemetry streaming stuff. So all of those things, you'll be able to find all that information in this weekly technical newsletter. So that's worth checking out. I'll also highlight the live streams that I have coming up in the week, webinars that are happening, and also just any industry news that I want to share as well. I put out on that. So check that out if you can. Also, there's an event calendar. So if you head over to darylandboo.com, I'm sure many of you already have that bookmark, but if you haven't, head over to darylandboo.com. There's actually an event calendar. So along the top navigation bar, there's a couple links on there. One of them is the event calendar. It's just a Google calendar that has all the upcoming streams posted on there. Now, I have a couple that are coming up. I haven't posted them yet. And I'll admit, just coming back from PTO the previous week, I've just been catching up on a lot of this stuff. So I don't have guests booked for this week for a community edition, or even next week. Next week had to get pushed out. But upcoming, I'm going to have some really interesting guests on the community edition side of Booze Hour, which is the not so F5 related stuff. And they'll be around digital transformation. One of them will talk about real estate in Vancouver. That's everybody's favorite subject in Vancouver, either the weather or the real estate here. And when it comes to digital transformation, I would say that's an industry where so much of it is face-to-face and hands-on and touring homes and stuff like that. So I wanted to have a chat about how that industry has been changed and become even more digitized. It has done a lot and changed a lot, I would say, in the past 15 years or so. But even more so now, having to be able to almost sell an entire home, spend $500,000 or $1 million in some cases or more on a home, with minimal face-to-face interaction. And then I'll have another chat on the health side of things. So healthcare is an interesting topic for everybody right now, and talking about digital transformation that's happening there. Also, you can say hi on here. There's a comment system. So if you leave comments on LinkedIn or on YouTube, I can highlight them on here. So I'd encourage everyone to say hi. And also, I just want to highlight the audio format of this as well. Peter was on yesterday and we were joking about how people would probably prefer to listen to us. And there is actually a podcast version of this, and I always put a link to that in the show notes. And there's an increasing amount of listeners, and I'm wondering if that has to do with more people heading back to the office now and being in the car or on the train or on a bus or something. And they're starting to pick up on their podcasts again and listen to their audiobooks again. And so for everybody who is doing that and commuting into work again and starting to get back into the office, or if you're just going out for a walk or run, you can subscribe to the podcast. There's two versions of the podcast, but if you just look up Booze Hour, subscribe to that one, and that has all of the content on there. I have another version of the podcast that's just the community edition stuff, if you just want to listen to those pieces as well. And yeah, otherwise, that's about it for announcements. So we'll have, I'll bring on Peter in a second here. I thought it'd be awesome to have Peter on. If you're in Vancouver, you probably have heard of the Vancouver B-Sides Cybersecurity Conference. And if you were enrolled or if you had a ticket to that, you would have gotten a notice within the last few days that, they're postponing the event entirely into the spring. It was previously postponed to the September timeframe, so right about now. And Peter was actually going to be out for that to speak. And so, on a previous Booze Hour, he actually talked through some of the stuff that he was going to talk about at B-Sides. And now, B-Sides would have been happening pretty soon here. And so instead, we'll just have him on, and we can have him on continually. He's a fan favorite of everybody's, and we can talk about all the stuff that could have been and should have been. But he has some other things on the agenda as well. So without further ado, here is Peter and Rexy.
Yeah, that's right. We still have the Peter and Rexy thing there from yesterday. I can throw Rexy up in the background there a little bit too. So cameras.
There we are. So we got a backstory on Rexy for folks who aren't familiar with who Rexy is. He's a character, or he's a mascot for a YouTube channel called How Ridiculous.
Yeah, and I was wearing my Rexy shirt yesterday, so that's why I had the Chef and Rexy. So if you watch yesterday's episode, the context is a little better. So, but and while I was gaming last night on Zoom, I had this as my background, so it's ready and rare to go. So
yeah, nice. So
I'll go back to my regular office here.
Yeah. There you go, your coffee shop.
Yeah.
So everybody's missing out on your visits to the BC area. I'm actually heading to Victoria tomorrow, and it would have been great to have you out for that, and for B-Sides especially. I think we talked about what you were going to speak at B-Sides about, and everybody was interested in that topic. But I guess we'll have to park that for now.
Yeah, this is the way all conferences seem to be going. It'll be interesting what happens next year, I think, with conferences.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people rushing to be in large groups. So, there's a lot going on virtually now. So maybe I'll just do my talk on a one of these kind of things. And see what happens.
But, and you know what? Last week it was I wouldn't say a 100% somber mood, but I had in my calendar for work the canceled invite for the Vancouver users group, and the users group are always special to me. Like, myself and Daryl have spent 9 years kind of curating the user group and getting people out to it and forming a community, and we've introduced a lot of people to each other, other F5 administrators and users in the Vancouver area to each other, and it was just a really cool event, and I was really sad to see the canceled invite just sitting in my calendar. I never removed it; I just left it in a canceled state on there. But it was just a reminder that hey, times are different right now. We can't meet in person, but we have things like this. We have mediums like this that we can get together, and maybe we can organize like a bit of a more of a structured user group as opposed to just a live stream. Do something a little bit more structured around that, and have you on and give your presentation.
Yeah, we could do that, and I mean, at F5 we've really championed the remote learning, and what we did with agility. Those things really agility was really well received. So if you're not familiar with it, I want to say back in 2015 or even 2014 was one of the first agilities that I ran some classes. I think it was San Francisco, I think is where the first ones that I did. And, we ran like 6 classes alongside everything else. And people were like, wow, these classes were good, but we don't really want to miss out on everything else. So then we added a day at the beginning. And then that turned into, 3 days of these 40-minute, or I guess 4-hour labs. And it really became the focus of it. I thought it was really good. And so now being able to repurpose those in a user group online, I think would be something to do. And I think there's some Agility 2.0, 2020 2.0 coming out in September. So I think there's a bunch that are going to be released. So
yeah. You know what? That's an interesting point too. When we look at how virtual conferences are looking at, not to go off on too much of a tangent for the subject, but that you were going to talk about. But I think when people are going to their managers and they're justifying, hey, why are you going to this conference? Having something like those labs that we were offering at Agility, and those labs were developed based on real world use cases. So not just, hey, here's what you learn in the standard textbook, and if in a perfect world your configuration is going to look like this. But these labs are more like, hey, in your world you're going to have like one of these over here and a blue one of these over here and a red one of these over here, and how do you make that all work together? And some of these labs are really built towards that, and people could come back from their lab and demonstrate that there was value in them going to into F5 Agility, because they could immediately implement those things. And so I think for sure, if we were to do something, maybe, more virtual user group just for the Vancouver area, hopefully provide more of that value. We always did that too. We always did labs, but providing that value. Hey, if you're going to spend a half day with us, we're going to give you something that's going to give you value. You can go back, or you can go back to working and implement something immediately that's going to change your environment and add something positive to your environment, maybe more efficiencies, more performance, or adding a new widget or whatever into the config. Yeah. Cool. So what you
speaking of new widgets, that's kind of
yes.
what I was going to talk about. Yeah, that's a good segue.
Great segue here. So you had something when I talked to you about Shape as far as an IAP and integration on the big IP.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're doing these days is sort of building the roadmap between integrating the products that F5's purchased over the last couple of years. So we've seen the integration with the Nginx App Protect for a web app, a true web app firewall running inside of Nginx. That's a huge integration advancement, I think, that we've got. But then we've also been working on integrating the Shape technology. And one of the things that we want to do is add the capability to just log some data so that we can demonstrate what the challenges customers are having with fraud on their web applications. So Shape, that's really the target, is to protect from a fraudulent logins, fraudulent account creation, that kind of stuff. And it's hard to figure out really what that means. And so what we have now, we call it the Shape Passive Defense Tool. So it's SPDT. So it's a 4-letter acronym, which breaks some axioms in F5. But the SPDT takes the log data from the requests, from the information that's coming in to your different pages, and then presents it to you to show you what kind of attacks you're undergoing. And the challenge is getting the data into there. So how do we have that information, and how do we provide it? So we launched the SPDT earlier this year, but still getting it integrated. There were some clone pool problems, and when you got clone pools and you got SSL, and some people have SSL requirements all the way through. So it was kind of a challenge for us to deploy it. So it's a sales tool that we can then present you some information that allows you to build a business case to do this. But it was a challenge to deploy it. Now what we've done is I'm just on a call now where we're finalizing an IAP. So an IAP, that you just deploy that to your big IP, and then you can configure sending traffic off of virtual servers through our high-speed logging capabilities to a SPDT. And the also advantage is that we're going to be hosting some SPDTs. So if you need to just spin one up and you want to send some log data we tend to want to see about 2 weeks of data, you don't need to do anything else. You just put this IAP on, you turn this on, you tell it which, you apply a couple I rules to a couple of different virtual servers, and you're away to the races. So it's a really, really easy way for you to see what kind of fraud you have happening on your website. It's an interesting thing to see what happens on websites where, credential stuffing is a very big term, and it's something that's been used a lot. And it means a bunch of different kinds of attacks. You could have people doing leak credential attacks against you. So they're sending usernames and passwords against your login page that are known bad or known compromised usernames and passwords. One of my usernames and passwords is out in the dark web, and people have used it and tried to log in. Luckily, I now use a password manager and I don't have to worry about that. But in cases where that's hitting people's site, those are things that you want to be able to say, hey, this is a problem for us, or maybe it isn't a problem for you. So the SPDT allows you to sort of see that. And then what we're doing with this integration makes it easy for you to turn this on to your production traffic. Because that's what the first question we always get from people. Hey, how do I know this is a problem? You tell me this is a problem, but I don't see it. Account creation, weird account creation, people trying to do carding against your website. All these things can be demonstrated using the SPDT. And it will surprise people to see what kind of attacks are ongoing on their site. It surprised me personally. So.
That's pretty cool. And, one of those things where it makes sense for that acquisition, because now that we have all these big IPs deployed across all of these very major websites out there for major institutions out there, we have this great inspection point to be able to pull that data out and enhance what we see with Shape.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. It's just yet another layer of inspection that we can do. We've had the web app firewall capabilities. We've had certain credential stuffing capabilities inside of our web app firewall. What the Shape technology really brings is another level of, let's say, computer-aided whack-a-mole. You can go and create signatures. You can go and address an attack, but what we see using tools like the Shape passive defense tool is how the attackers pivot and change their attack over time. So you can actually see the different attacks in the UI. And when you have a web app firewall, you have to react to every one of those. There are a lot of attacks that make sense, but with Shape, it reacts to it automatically.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. How quickly would attackers pivot once they get hit with the first block?
That varies depending on the attacker. Speaking with one bank, this bank's been undergoing attacks for several months, and those attackers pivot regularly, like several times a day in some cases. In some cases, we've seen attackers that once they've been stopped, it might take them a week or two to realize they've been stopped. Then you actually see that attack disappear, and then it gets retooled a week or so afterwards. So it depends on the complexity of the attacker, how closely they're monitoring what the attack that they're trying to do. The attack that you're seeing might be part of a broader probing attack that they're doing that they're not really monitoring every single day. But they also might be trying to monetize you, and if we block them, they might be instantly responding. in case where we had one customer where we blocked them at 6 o'clock at night on one attack vector, and we saw them 6 a.m. the next morning attacking another place, but it was a very similar attack, but just slightly tweaked. So they're obviously monitoring probably overnight. So it might have been a different time zone the attack was happening, but it was like 2 a.m. We saw that the things start to change. So you can sometimes judge where the attacker is judging by the time of the attack. So it's kind of funny.
So when you say monetize, like that attacker may have been using the data being scraped off of the site to monetize, or they're
actually attacking and stealing stuff from your accounts. So
okay.
It can be things like they can be trying to mule stuff, or they could be doing carding. So they're testing cards against you. So that's a way for them to validate the cards that they're actually putting up on the dark web, so that this card works. So this is a good number. It could be a points-based attack where they're attacking and taking the loyalty points or something like that from you as well.
Yeah, I always I'm a big points person, and our local grocery store chain here, I have several 100,000 points, and I'm trying to get to 1 million. And if anybody were to take my points, I would be very upset. That 1 million is going to get me to Hawaii just buying groceries.
Yes, they know that. And they know that people have a lot of points to get in and steal. And a lot of companies don't protect the point site because they don't think it's a real valid thing. But the points can be translated into merchandise. That merchandise can be fenced, and there's your money.
And the carding too. Carding is like that. Card testing has a very clear dollar value associated with it because every card test costs that retailer cash at the end of the day, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So somebody can rifle through, run 10,000 cards on there, and all of a sudden you have a pretty hefty bill.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I just wanted to bring up, that this is a new thing that we're going to be talking to customers about, and it's exciting to be bringing a lot of these technologies together. And like you said, we're that central point. And we can do a lot of inspection and reaction to what is happening at that point, and a lot of the purchases that F5 has done over the last couple of years is all targeted around adding value to that insertion point. It's exciting.
Yeah, very cool. We did have a comment from Sebastian that I had popped up earlier. Look at these good-looking dudes. One of these days, got to have Sebastian on here as well. He's got a lot of interesting things going on. It'd be great to have him on for a chat. But otherwise, we'll probably wrap it up from here. Again, we'll probably do something around your talk at some point. Not going to hold you to it right now, but I'll ping you about that, and we can maybe organize something fun with the local users here, since we don't get to have a local user group. In BC, our nightclubs just got shut down as well. They reopened and just got
I heard
shut
that this morning. Yeah, you get another spike.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, there'll be you know what? I mean, I don't want to get into COVID talks on these things, but yeah, school starting up and stuff. Yeah, everybody's got to just do whatever's safe for them, and keep out of harm's way. But
stay safe.
Yeah, I will. Thanks for jumping on, Peter. I will roll the outro here, but otherwise, look for anybody who signed up to the newsletter. I'm going to be putting out the monthly newsletter any day now. And folks who aren't signed up to monthly newsletter, or the weekly newsletter, if you're on that from Daryl directly before, he will send out the monthly newsletter directly to folks. And then from here, yeah, that's about it. We'll see everybody on Monday, and then we'll look for another live stream, and then we'll restart the community edition again.
One more comment. Shout out to Sean too.
This is so is Boo the Tiger in this setup. I should have done that. I thought about that too. But you know what? I was stretching my Photoshop skills with the first one. So yeah, we'll see. That might take a lot longer to do. All right. Thanks a lot,
for
Peter.
having me. We'll see you
Cheers.
guys later.
Bye. Thanks for checking this out today. If you're watching via YouTube right now, go ahead and click subscribe down below. Also click the bell for notifications. That way you will find out when we are dropping a new video or when we're going live. Also, there's darylandboo.com. If you head over to that, leave your name and email address, we will drop a weekly technical newsletter in your inbox every Monday. Also, this is available via podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify. Head over to one of those, hit subscribe, and you'll be able to listen to us in the car on your commute or during a walk or a run. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time.